Hello Hellier College Maths students, and welcome to the first video for the Consumer Maths unit. This video focuses on working with percent. We have this diagram here which we have access to during the test or any written test that we do, so we can use this in order to convert between the different ways of displaying these numbers. So if we look at the examples here, you might want to pause at different stages and try these on your own and then watch what I do. So the first one, we're going to be converting two percentages and two fractions into decimals. So if we look back at our diagram, percentage to decimal follows this arrow. So we need to divide by 100. Okay, so let's try that. So we take 60% and divide it by 100. Now you can do this on the calculator if you want to, and we find that we get 0.6, or 0.60 is okay too. So you might want to try the next one on your own, and then I'll have a go at it. So in this one, 53 divided by 100, which gives 0.53. So converting a percentage to a decimal is really quite simple, and you've always got access to a calculator even in the tests. So all you have to do is put that number over 100, divide that number by 100, and you get the decimal answer. Now, converting fractions to decimals is also pretty simple, given the use of the calculator. If we were going to do this by hand the old-fashioned way, it'd be a bit more of a task, but we have access to the calculator. So you can do 2 divided by 3 on your calculator, and because of my mathematical experience, I can remember this one off by heart. This is going to be 0.66 going on forever and ever, which you may remember we could write like this. I'll just give myself a bit more room there. We could say is 0.6 with a dot above is the same thing, or we could round it off to 2 decimal places, or however many decimal places we like. 0.67 is okay as well. Now 3 divided by 4 isn't a recurring decimal. That gives us 0.75. So all three of these really just rely on the calculator. So we didn't look at the flowchart on those two fractions, but just to confirm that, I should have gone back here, but we see that fraction to decimal, this way, we just do numerator divided by denominator. So we can just do that on the calculator. Okay, let's convert 2 decimals and 2 fractions to a percent. So decimals to percent goes this way. Sorry, my tablet's just a bit funny, so we multiply by 100 this time. So 0.48. We're doing the opposite to the ones above, we're multiplying. Now you can do this on the calculator too, but you might understand that you shift the decimal place 2 places to the right. This gives us 48, and because we're making it a percentage, we need to have the percentage symbol there. Okay, try part B, then I'll do it. Okay, so zoom in a little bit. 1.35 times 100 equals 135%. Now you may have heard people say that you can't have more than 100% of something. Well, in some cases that's true, but in other cases it's not true. Percentages can go above 100% for some situations. So that's fine there. Okay, fraction to percent. So we see that when we look here, the fraction arrow, there's not an arrow directly from fraction to percent on this diagram, so we need to go this way to decimal first and then this way. So we're going to need to get on the calculator and do numerator divided by denominator and then multiply that by 100. So we've got 2 steps in this situation. So 1 divided by 4. Okay, do you remember that that is 0.25? And then we take that answer and multiply it by 100 to give 25%. Okay, you could try the next one now. Okay, so 3 divided by 8. Is 0.375. We multiply that by 100. And we get 37.5%. Okay, so the last one we're going to be converting 2 percentages and 2 decimals into a fraction. So let's look at the percentages first. So percentage to fraction, we place over 100 then cancel down. Okay, so this is something students generally don't enjoy all that much, working with these fractions, but let's give it a go despite that. Okay, so we're going to place this over 100 and then cancel it down. So 80 divide 100. So a good way to do this is to think of the largest common factor between 80 and 100. So think of all the numbers that divide into 80. Okay, what numbers divide into 80? Okay, we've got 1, 2 goes into 80, 4, 8, 10, 20, 40. I don't think I've missed any. You might correct me later, but I think I've got them all. Okay, let's do all the ones for 100. 1, 2, 4, 5 goes into 100. Oh, yes, I did miss one for 80. 5 goes into 80 as well, so I better wedge that in up here. 5 goes in. My mistake. 10, 20, 25, 50. Okay, I think I've got all the ones for 100, but I thought I had all the ones for 80 too. Well, let's just see how we go. Okay, so what we want to do is pick the biggest one of these numbers on the 2 lists that are in common. Okay, so which is the biggest number that both lists have in common? And the biggest one I can see is 20. Okay, so what we want to do is write that number 20 here and here, and we're going to do 20 times. Now we're going to write this 20 times what would give 80 back again. 20 times, well, 20 goes into 80 4 times, so 20 times 4 is 80. What about for the 100? 20 by 5. And then, of course, we can cancel numbers that are the same on the top and the bottom of a fraction. So we cancel the 20s and we're left with 4 over 5. So this is a more lengthy process here. And you can use the calculator to go straight to the answer, but you need to learn how to show this process as well. Okay, so let's try the same for 22. Now for 22, I'm just going to write out the factors for 22 because we don't need to do it for 100 again. So 22 over 100. We're going to start with that. Okay, so the factors of 22, well, I can think of 1, 2, and 11, and 22 as well. So I'm looking here, and I can see that the biggest common factor between 22 and 100 is 2. So I'll write that 2 just like I did with the 20 before. 2 times over 2 times. So 2 times what will give 22 back again? 2 times 11. Oops, sorry, my tablet's a bit funny here. 2 by 11. And for the 100, it's 2 by 50. So the 2's cancel out. And the answer here is 11 over 50. Now there are other ways to approach these types, and if you're finding this really confusing, have a chat with me about how you could do this in a different way. I know that most General Maths 2 students don't tend to like working with fractions, so have a chat to me and we'll see if we can work out another way that works best for you. Okay, let's do the last one, which is decimals to fractions. So decimal to fraction, let's look back. Decimal to fraction, well the arrow doesn't go back that way, so we're going to have to go this way. We're going to have to do this first, times by 100, then do the process we've just been doing. So this is probably the longest of the lot because we need to multiply by 100 first. Hi, come in. Yeah, go. No worries, go for it.
I'm looking very hopeful.
Yeah. Yeah. I think she's back in the titration competition. Yeah. Okay, so let's see, we've got the decimal here is 0.3 times 100 gives 30. And I'll do 30 divided by 100. Okay, so you might want to pause the video now and go through this same process that we did on the left here, and then I'll solve it. Okay, so I'm going to give it a go now. Now you may have gone through this process, but I'm going to show you a different way that you can approach these, which is a little more haphazard, so it doesn't always work quite as cleanly, but it's one way that I think works okay, and sometimes I do this really quickly myself. So I'm going to look at this. I'm going to halve both of these and make this 15 on 50. See how I just halved 30 and I halved 100? If I do the same to the top and the bottom, that's okay. And then I can see really quickly that there's a common factor here of 5 between these two. So 3 5s are 15 and 10 5s are 50. So the answer you should have found for this one, even whichever method you use, is 3 over 10. The other method, of course, which is probably even easier, is to look back at this original 30 over 100, and you can just go and chop off that 0, just cancel out a 0, zeros cancel top and bottom, and that leaves you with 3 over 10 as well. So I know these can be a little confusing. These are probably the hardest ones, but we'll give it a go anyway. Now the last one's not too bad. You might want to pause the video and give it a go, then I'll try it. Okay, now this one looks like it'll be really tricky. We put 30, well first we multiply by 100 to give us 37. We put 37 on 100. Now we're looking at this thinking, what do we do? Well, it turns out 37 is one of those special numbers known as a prime number. So it doesn't have any factors other than 1 in itself. So that means that there are no factors to cancel down with 100. So that's the answer. If you get a prime number and you put it over 100, you just stop there. Okay guys, so have a look in the description for the video for the questions to try on working with percent part 1.